library.
You want to change your life, but you still treat your brain like a black box. You ask for more money, more focus, more discipline, more confidence. But here's the hard truth. Your results will never rise above the way your brain is wired today. The good news is even harder to ignore. That wiring is not fixed. It's being rewritten every single day by the way you think, what you repeat, and what you avoid. Your brain is not a prison. It is wet cement. And right now, you are the one holding the tools. Chapter 1. Your brain is your real capital. Most people think their biggest asset is outside of them. Their degree, their job title, their followers, their network, their savings. Those things matter, but they all depend on something deeper. The quality of your brain, the way you learn, the way you adapt, the way you react under pressure. Money can be lost. A job can vanish. A relationship can end. But the person you become in your brain can keep creating new chances again and again. That is the first shift I want you to make. Stop asking, how do I get more? And start asking, how do I become someone whose brain can handle more? Have you ever noticed how some people pick up new skills fast while others stay stuck? They're not gifted in a magical way. They have simply used their brain differently over time. Every time you learn something new, your brain changes physically. New connections grow. Old ones weaken. Pathways become faster. It's not philosophy. It's biology. Think about a simple example. The first time you tried to drive, everything felt overwhelming. Steering, mirrors, pedals, signs. Your brain was working hard building a new circuit. After enough practice, you drive, listen to music, and think about something else at the same time. The circuit became automatic. Your brain turned effort into ease. This is how every area of your life works. At the beginning, your brain resists. It feels clumsy. It gets tired quickly. With repetition, it becomes efficient. The problem is this. Most people only apply this to basic skills. They never use it intentionally for money, mindset, and success. They repeat stress. They repeat distraction. They repeat avoidance. They repeat scrolling. They repeat self-doubt. And the brain learns that too. It becomes very good at what you feed it. So let me ask you something direct. What are you training your brain to become right now? Be honest. Are you building a brain that can handle complexity, pressure, and opportunity? Or a brain that escapes discomfort as fast as possible? You might say, but I just forget things. I'm not good at learning. That is not a fixed trait. That is a trained pattern. Your brain does not stop changing after childhood. It keeps rewiring until your last breath. You can teach it to focus later in life. You can teach it to manage fear. You can teach it to think long-term. But it will not happen by accident. Let's look at money. Imagine two people, both 25 years old. One says, I'm just bad with numbers. Investing is too complicated. The other says, I don't know anything about this yet, but I'm going to build the brain of an investor. Person 1 keeps repeating avoidance. Person 2 starts with 10 minutes a day, reading, watching lessons, taking notes. At first it feels slow, confusing, uncomfortable. But the brain of person 2 is adapting. Neurons around money, risk, and numbers are wiring together. 1 year later, person 1 is still bad with money. Person 2 is making decisions with calm and clarity. Did one of them get a different brain at birth? No. One of them used the brain deliberately. The other used it reactively. Take your career. You sit in a meeting with senior people. Ideas in your head, nothing coming out of your mouth. Your heart beats faster. Your brain wants to protect you from discomfort, so it stays silent. Next meeting, same pattern. Your brain learns, In these situations, we don't speak. That circuit becomes stronger with every repetition. Now imagine a different path. You decide, I will say one sentence in every meeting, even if I feel scared. The first time, your voice shakes. Your brain sends signals of danger. You do it anyway. The second time, it still feels uncomfortable. Third time, a little less. After 20 meetings, something strange happens. Your body is calmer. Your ideas come out more clearly. Your brain has built a new circuit for, I can speak in this room and survive. You trained it. It obeyed. Can you see the pattern? The brain does not care if a habit is helpful or harmful. It only cares if it is repeated. That is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because your current life is a mirror of what you have trained your brain to tolerate. Liberating because you can start training something new today. Let's bring it to relationships. Maybe you grew up in a home where conflict meant shouting or silence. Your brain wired disagreement equals danger. So as an adult, when your partner brings up a problem, you shut down or explode. You are not broken. You are running an old program. Now imagine you decide to build a new pattern. You learn to pause before reacting. You listen fully once before answering. You practice saying, give me a moment to think, instead of firing back. At the beginning, this feels fake. It goes against your automatic reaction. That is the sign that change is happening. You are forcing your brain to create a new path. Do this enough times, and your default in conflict becomes calm curiosity instead of defense. Same person, same history, different brain wiring, different life. I want you to really understand this. Struggle is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that your brain is working. When a task is hard, circuits are being stretched and reshaped. When a new habit feels uncomfortable, your brain is negotiating between old patterns and new ones. Most people quit in that phase. They say, it's not for me. The few who stay inside the discomfort long enough come out the other side with a different identity. Let me ask you another question. Where in your life did you stop because it felt too hard? Was it building a side business? Learning a new skill? Starting content creation? Ending a toxic relationship? What if that too hard moment was not a wall, but wet cement that you walked away from before it could set? Your brain was ready to become someone new. You just didn't stay long enough. Here is the millionaire part of this. Your brain is the only asset that compounds in every direction. Learn how to learn, and every new skill becomes faster. Learn how to handle discomfort, and every new level feels more natural. Learn how to direct your attention, and every hour becomes more valuable. While others obsess over quick money, you can quietly invest in the machine that generates all your future income. Now I want you to do a quick exercise with me. Choose one area: money, career, or relationships. Ask yourself, what kind of brain would easily win here? Describe it. Focused, patient, strategic, calm, brave. Once you have that image, ask the real question. What daily behavior would start building that brain? Not a big fantasy. A small, repeatable action. Reading 10 pages about investing. Talking once per meeting. Asking one deeper question in a conversation. Your brain does not change when you understand this chapter. It changes when you repeat something different tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. As your mentor in this audiobook, I will not promise you shortcuts. I will promise you this instead. If you treat your brain as your main capital, your outer life will slowly be forced to adjust. People will say you've changed. Opportunities will start to match your new patterns. You will look lucky. You will know it was wiring. To close this first chapter, remember one sentence. Every thought you repeat, every habit you practice, every feeling you feed is a vote for the brain you are building. The question is not, can I change? The real question is, what am I unconsciously training right now? And what do I want to train instead? From this moment on, you are not just living your life, you are sculpting your brain. And the brain you sculpt will decide how far you go.
Chapter 2. Repetition is identity building. Imagine two people sitting at a table. One keeps saying, I want to be disciplined. I want to learn a new skill. I want to be successful. The other says nothing. They simply show up every day and practice for 30 minutes. Same goal. Different brain training. One builds intention, the other builds identity. It's the same reason why some people read 20 books on success and still fail, while someone else applies one lesson consistently and ends up wealthy. The brain learns by doing, not by wanting. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your repeated actions. Because repetition is how the brain chooses what to prioritize. Think about memory. You don't remember every face you see, every word you read, every sound you hear. Your brain filters most of it out. How does it decide what to keep? Simple. It remembers what gets repeated. The same thing happens with habits, confidence, fear, intelligence, and skills. Repetition teaches the brain what is important. If you repeatedly avoid risk, your brain learns that risk is dangerous. If you repeatedly hesitate to speak, your brain learns that silence protects you. If you repeatedly waste time scrolling, your brain learns that distraction is rewarding. Repetition is not neutral. Every repeated choice either strengthens or weakens your future. Let's take learning. Most people quit learning something new because it doesn't stick. They assume they're not talented enough or not smart enough. But the real issue is that they were expecting long-term change from short-term effort. The brain does not reward excitement. It rewards consistency. Learning to code, improving your English, building a business, training your body, mastering communication, they all follow the same rule. Short bursts do nothing. Slow, steady repetition builds the circuits. Let me show you how this works in money. Most people try to change their financial life with motivation. They watch a video, get inspired, promise to save, promise to invest. For 2 weeks, they feel unstoppable. Then life gets busy. They fall back into old patterns. Why? Because they tried to create a financial future without building a financial brain. Motivation is emotional. Repetition is structural. Imagine instead someone decides to read 5 pages about investing every day. They write down 1 new insight per day. They track their spending for 5 minutes every evening. The first month changes nothing outside. But inside the brain, circuits are forming. Money is becoming familiar. Decision-making becomes clearer. Discipline becomes easier. Soon, the outer world is forced to reflect the inner structure. Wealth begins in the brain long before it appears in your bank account. Now look at confidence. People think confidence comes from success. It doesn't. Confidence comes from evidence. Evidence that you show up even when you feel nervous. Evidence that you follow through when your mind tries to quit. Confidence is not an emotion, it is proof. And repetition gives you that proof. Ask yourself honestly, what have you given your brain proof of lately? That you stop when things get boring? That you do your best only when you're motivated? Or that you can show up even when it's inconvenient? This is where identity begins. Your brain forms a story about who you are based on what you repeatedly do. That's why changing your habits without changing your identity never lasts. But here's the twist. You don't need to wait for your identity to change first. You don't need to believe in yourself at the beginning. You can build the belief through behavior. You don't need to feel like a disciplined person to set a timer for 15 minutes and focus today. Do the action first. The identity will catch up. Stop trying to become confident. Do confident things consistently. Stop trying to become productive. Do focused things consistently. Stop trying to become wealthy. Do financially smart things consistently. The brain rewires from the outside in. Most people wait for a feeling to start. Successful people start and let the feeling come later. Here is the simplest, most powerful question to reshape your future. What small behavior, if repeated daily for 1 year, would completely change your life? Choose one. Not 5, not 10, one. Something so small your brain cannot resist it. 10 minutes of exercise. 10 minutes of studying a skill. Writing 1 paragraph. Reading 3 pages. Building a daily budget for 5 minutes. Sending 1 networking message for 5 minutes. Practicing your pitch for 10 minutes. You don't need a huge transformation. You need a small habit that rewires your identity. Remember this: repetition builds skill. Repetition builds reward circuits. Repetition builds emotional endurance. Repetition builds self-trust. Repetition builds identity. Small does not mean weak. Small means repeatable. Repeatable means powerful. Your brain doesn't care how big your action is. It only cares how often it sees it. So from today forward, don't chase big change. Chase daily proof. The proof you are building a brain that deserves the life you want. Because when you train like the person you want to become, your brain has no choice but to make you that person. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into the real obstacle, the brain's addiction to comfort, and why breaking it is the entrance to growth, wealth, confidence, and mastery. Before we continue, ask yourself one final question. Not who do I want to be, but what repeated behavior would make me impossible to recognize a year from now? That answer is the beginning, and your repetition will write the rest.
Chapter 3. Escape the comfort mindset. Imagine a person living the same year on repeat. They wake up, work, scroll, talk about wanting change, go to bed, and repeat. They are not lazy. They are comfortable. And comfort tricks the brain into believing you're safe when you're actually stuck. The brain loves safety because safety consumes less energy. Familiar patterns require no learning, no emotional risk, no uncertainty. But the same mechanism that protects you also prevents you from evolving. Your brain doesn't resist growth because it's hard. It resists growth because it's unfamiliar. Comfort doesn't fight your goals. It quietly delays them 1 day at a time. Think about fitness. Most people don't quit because the workout is impossible. They quit because it's easier not to sweat. Think about learning. Most people don't stop because a skill is too complex. They stop because it's easier to watch videos about people who already mastered it. Think about relationships. Many people stay in painful situations not because they believe they deserve misery, but because the unknown is harder to imagine than the familiar pain they already know. Comfort is not pleasure. It's low-effort certainty. Your brain chooses it by default unless you train it to choose progress. Let's take a story. A young man wanted to start a side business. He researched, watched tutorials, took notes, bought a course, and planned for months. He was sure he was preparing. In reality, he was hiding behind comfort disguised as productivity. He never executed. He feared launching more than failing, because once you start, reality replaces fantasy. Real work replaces excitement. Progress requires discomfort. His problem wasn't discipline. It was his addiction to the planning phase. Comfort doesn't just stop you from acting, it convinces you that preparing is the same as progressing. The brain loves preparation because it feels productive without risk. Action demands vulnerability, effort, and uncertainty. That's what makes it transformative. Ask yourself honestly, how many goals are you preparing to start? How many ideas are you waiting to learn more about before trying? Comfort loves the word soon. Successful people love the word now. The brain isn't built to make you successful. It's built to make you survive. It prefers predictability over improvement. Growth forces the brain to rewire. Rewiring costs energy, and your brain tries to conserve energy unless you insist. So the first step to changing your life is not motivation, it's confrontation. You must recognize that discomfort is a sign of progress, not a signal to retreat. When something challenges you, your brain is working, stretching, learning, adapting. That discomfort is the physical sensation of transformation. You don't grow when life becomes easier. You grow when you become someone who can handle more. If you want wealth, you must tolerate uncertainty. If you want confidence, you must tolerate embarrassment while you learn. If you want mastery, you must tolerate boredom while you repeat. If you want stronger relationships, you must tolerate uncomfortable honesty. Nothing valuable is built without discomfort. And the more you avoid it, the more your brain loses the capacity to handle life. Comfort creates fragile minds. Discomfort creates real strength. Look at elite performers. Athletes endure repetitive pain. Entrepreneurs endure unpredictable risk. Communicators endure the fear of being misunderstood. Leaders endure criticism. Most people avoid what successful people embrace, not because successful people are fearless, but because they have trained their brain to stay calm inside discomfort. They don't wait for comfort to act. They act until discomfort becomes comfortable. Your brain adapts to whatever you repeat. If you repeat avoidance, you become fragile. If you repeat effort, you become strong. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. You must pick one. And when you pick growth, comfort becomes something you use, not a place you live in. This is how you escape comfort. Start small but consistently uncomfortable. Speak up when you usually stay silent. Work 10 more minutes when you want to quit. Learn for 20 minutes when you feel lazy. Invest small money instead of thinking about big investment plans. Approach one person instead of fantasizing about social confidence. The brain doesn't need huge pressure. It needs familiar discomfort. Once discomfort becomes familiar, fear loses control over you. You become adaptable. You become resilient. You become someone who acts even without perfect conditions. And once you reach that point, success becomes less about talent and more about tolerance. The people who win are not the most gifted. They are simply those who trained their brain to stop negotiating with comfort. Before we enter the next chapter, ask yourself this question. What discomfort have I been avoiding that could build the life I want? And more importantly, am I willing to choose growth over comfort today, not in theory, but through one uncomfortable action? Because your future depends on how you answer with behavior, not words.
Chapter 4. Train your brain to act, not think. You've probably noticed this. You learn something powerful. You feel inspired. You imagine yourself changing your life, and then nothing happens. The inspiration fades, the idea disappears, and your life stays exactly the same. It's not because you're weak. It's because your brain rewards learning with the same pleasure it should be reserving for taking action. Your brain gives you dopamine for the feeling of progress, even if you haven't done anything to create progress. That's why you love planning, researching, watching tutorials, listening to advice, and imagining success. It feels like work, but it's not. It's a simulation of work. Your brain loves simulation because it costs nothing. No risks, no embarrassment, no mistakes, no uncertainty. Action, on the other hand, threatens your identity. It forces results to replace fantasy. You can't hide behind potential anymore. Let's take a real example. A woman wants to speak more confidently at work. She studies communication techniques, she watches videos, she buys books, she feels smarter. But when it comes time to speak up, she stays silent. Why? She has knowledge, but no neural training in action. The brain defaults to the familiar behavior even if it ruins her future. Because the brain doesn't care about success, it cares about protection. Learning changes nothing until behavior follows it. This is why successful people are not the ones who know the most. They're the ones who apply quickly, imperfectly, repeatedly. They don't wait to know everything. They start with what they know. And because they start, they learn faster than everyone stuck in the planning stage. You learn more from one act of execution than 100 hours of consuming information. Your brain changes through repetition of behavior, not repetition of knowledge. Reading about confidence doesn't build neural pathways of confidence. Speaking does. Reading about money doesn't build money habits. Managing your finances does. Learning productivity doesn't make you productive. Doing the task does. You don't need more answers, you need more attempts. Action teaches your brain what matters. It rewires your pathways, strengthens your identity, and gives you proof that you can do difficult things. And proof is more powerful than motivation. Once your brain has evidence, fear loses influence. Only action can create that evidence. This is how practical neuroplasticity works. Each small execution, even sloppy execution, builds new patterns that eventually become powerful skills. The brain does not reward perfection, it rewards persistence. Think of a child learning to walk. They don't read about walking. They don't plan a strategy. They don't overthink. They fall hundreds of times, but through each attempt, their brain adapts. Their muscles gain coordination, and soon they walk naturally without thinking. Adults forget this. They try to learn without failure. They want progress without attempts. They want mastery without mistakes. But mastery is built on repeated imperfection. Your brain needs exposure to discomfort before it can create strength. You can't grow in theory, you can only grow in practice. If you want to evolve, you need to act before you feel ready. Waiting for readiness is the most common form of procrastination disguised as preparation. Here's a challenge. Think of something you've been postponing because you want to learn more first. You don't need more information. You need the first step. Just one. Not a perfect step, a real step. If you want to learn public speaking, say one short sentence in a meeting. If you want to start a business, launch one small offer, even if it flops. If you want confidence, talk to one stranger. If you want discipline, set a timer for 10 minutes and work without stopping. 10 minutes repeated daily beats 10 hours once a month. The brain learns from frequency, not intensity. High-frequency small actions outperform large occasional efforts. This is why gyms are full in January and empty in March. People start big, but they don't continue. The brain loves small actions done consistently because they become habits, and habits become identity. Your identity is simply what your brain expects you to do. If you never act, you become someone who doesn't finish. If you act often, even in small bursts, you become someone who follows through. Success is not the result of huge wins. It is the identity of someone who acts. Before we continue, I want you to ask yourself something powerful. What identity have your actions been training you to become? Not your plans, not your dreams, your actions. Your brain learns who you are based on what you repeatedly do. So if you want to be a confident speaker, act like one. If you want wealth, behave like someone who manages money wisely. If you want respect, speak with clarity instead of seeking approval. If you want discipline, choose action over intention. Train your brain to act more than it plans, and your life will start following your behavior, not your fears.
Chapter 5. Build an unbreakable focus. There is a type of intelligence that has nothing to do with IQ.
It's not logic, it's not talent, it's not creativity. It's the ability to control your attention when everything tries to steal it. Focus is the rarest skill of the modern world, and that's exactly why it's the most valuable. Whoever controls their attention controls their future. The world is designed to scatter your mind. Notifications train you to react instantly. Social media trains you to switch topics every second. Entertainment trains your brain to chase artificial dopamine. You are being conditioned to think shorter, feel faster, scroll longer, and sit still for nothing. This destroys your ability to focus. A scattered brain can't grow, can't learn deeply, and can't build anything great. Weak attention doesn't just ruin productivity, it destroys potential. Think about it. How can you build a business if you can't stay with a task long enough to finish? How can you master a skill if your mind checks out every time it becomes boring? How can you understand yourself if you can't sit with your thoughts without distraction? Your brain grows when you force it to stay where it wants to escape. There's a reason successful people don't need to scream about hard work. They don't just work long hours, they work in deep concentration. While most people are half working, half scrolling, half thinking, they are fully present. They don't just spend time, they invest attention. 1 hour of deep focus beats 5 hours of distracted effort. That's not an opinion. That's how neuroplasticity works. Neural pathways strengthen only through repeated, focused effort. If you keep interrupting the task, you interrupt the learning. Every time you break focus, your brain resets part of its progress. That's why you feel like you're always starting over. Not because you're untalented, but because you never stay long enough to grow. Let me show you something simple. Imagine you try to learn a skill. Let's say editing videos. You watch a tutorial, you practice a bit, then you get bored, you grab your phone, scroll for a minute, maybe reply to a message, then go back to your work. You disrupted the brain's learning cycle. You cut the signal before it could strengthen. It's like going to the gym and putting the weights down every time it starts to burn. You can't build muscle like that, and you can't build your mind like that. Your brain is a muscle, and distraction is junk food. The strongest minds are built through discomfort that most people avoid. Boredom is discomfort. Silence is discomfort. Deep work is discomfort. But whoever tolerates these things becomes unstoppable. Most people don't fail because the work is hard. They fail because they can't sit with themselves long enough to do real work. So how do you build unbreakable focus? By training your brain to resist the urge to escape when the task becomes boring, slow, confusing, or repetitive. Focus is not about intensity. It's about staying when your brain wants to leave. Start with something simple. 10 minutes of deep, uninterrupted work. No phone, no music with lyrics, no switching tabs, no multitasking. When your mind gets itchy and wants stimulation, stay anyway. That moment you resist the urge is the moment your brain rewires. You're building mental endurance. 10 focused minutes repeated every day is more powerful than 2 hours of half focus once a week. Then extend it gradually. 15 minutes, 20, 30. Soon you'll be able to do what most people can't do in hours. Your brain will learn to enter deeper states faster. Distractions will lose their influence over you. And you will start to think clearly, deeply, strategically. You will make better decisions. You will understand complex things faster. You will process information faster. You will see opportunities others miss. Deep focus is intelligence in action. Look at the most powerful thinkers in history. They weren't geniuses because they had superhuman brains. They developed superhuman attention. They spent hours thinking deeply about one thing while the rest of the world chased noise. That allowed them to see what others couldn't see. The same opportunity exists for you today, but very few will take it, not because they lack potential, but because they are too addicted to stimulation. If you learn to control your attention, you instantly rise above most of society, not financially at first, but mentally. Then the financial success follows naturally because the world pays a premium for rare skills. Focus is rare. Therefore, focus is paid. Before we continue, ask yourself this question. Are you training your brain to escape effort or to endure effort? Your future depends on that answer, not in words, but in daily behavior.
Chapter 6. Control your reactions before they control you. Your brain has two voices. One is fast, emotional, impulsive. The other is slow, rational, strategic. When you react instantly, you let the fast voice run your life. When you pause, you give power to the slow voice. Success and regret are separated by a fraction of a second, the pause between emotion and response. That pause is what powerful people master. Think about how many relationships are damaged by one impulsive comment. How many careers are ruined because someone reacted with ego instead of patience? How many opportunities are lost because someone couldn't handle discomfort without exploding, defending, panicking, or shutting down? Lack of reaction control doesn't just make you emotional. It makes you predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to dominate. Whoever controls your reactions controls you. This is why the most influential people don't respond quickly. They respond correctly. They don't take things personally. They don't argue emotionally. They don't defend every opinion. They don't panic when something goes wrong. They train their brain to think before acting, and that makes them powerful. Let's take a real example. You're at work. Someone criticizes your idea harshly. Your emotional brain wants to defend yourself instantly, to protect your ego. Your strategic brain would ask a simple question. What exactly do you believe is missing? One reaction creates conflict. The other collects information. One protects ego. The other improves intelligence. Smart communication is not about winning arguments. It is about controlling your state so you can choose the smartest response. Your brain is plastic, which means every reaction you repeat becomes easier to repeat again. If you often overreact, you are training your brain to overreact. If you remain calm, you are training your brain to remain calm. Your reactions are not your personality. They are habits shaped by repetition. Emotional intelligence is not a talent. It is neural training. So, how do you train the pause? You do it in 3 steps. First, label your emotion before acting. When you name an emotion, the brain moves the reaction from the emotional centers to the thinking centers. Saying, "I'm angry," or "I feel attacked," or "I feel insecure," doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. Awareness disrupts impulsive behavior. Second, breathe before responding. Even one slow breath changes your brain activity. It reduces the stress chemicals and gives your thinking mind a chance to speak. One breath can save your job. One breath can save a relationship. One breath can save your reputation. Third, ask a question instead of defending yourself. Questions slow down the emotional brain and create clarity. Can you explain what you meant? What would you suggest? Where did the misunderstanding start? Questions turn conflict into information. They move you from being attacked to being strategic. Smart people don't fight to protect themselves. They collect information to improve the situation. They don't get provoked. They get curious. Once you master this, you gain a power most people never experience: emotional neutrality. This doesn't mean you suppress feelings. It means feelings don't dominate your decisions. You feel everything, but you act based on intention, not impulse. That's mental discipline, and mental discipline is rare. Look at strong negotiators. They stay calm. Look at strong leaders. They stay calm. Look at the most respected people in any field. They stay calm when others panic, complain, or freeze. Calmness looks like a personality trait, but it is a skill, a trained brain, a practiced identity. When you control your reactions, you become unpredictable, unshakable, hard to manipulate, hard to offend, hard to push, hard to control. And that makes you powerful in every room you enter. Let me ask you something. Who are you training yourself to be? Someone who reacts automatically, or someone who responds intelligently? Do you lose control when people challenge you, or do you become more strategic? Your future relationships, career, opportunities, and peace of mind will be decided by those questions. Because your mind cannot be strong if your emotions rule it. You don't need to suppress emotions. You need to place them in the right order. Feel first, pause second, respond third. That is what separates impulsive lives from intentional lives.
Chapter 7. Think independently or get controlled. We live in a world where everyone wants to influence your mind. Companies try to control your desires so you buy. Media tries to control your fears so you obey. Politicians try to control your anger so you choose sides. Social platforms try to control your attention so you scroll. If you don't learn to think for yourself, someone else will build your life for you. Your brain is designed to mirror. From a young age, you copy your environment. You copy the voice of your parents, the habits of your friends, the ideas of your culture. Without awareness, you don't think, you repeat. You don't choose, you inherit. And what you inherit may not be built for your future. Many people fail not because they're incapable, but because they never question the beliefs that were installed into them. Let's look at a simple example. A person grows up hearing money is dangerous, rich people are selfish, or success changes you. Even if they want wealth, their brain will sabotage them because deep down it believes success is unsafe. They don't lack intelligence, they lack independent thinking. To build your mind, you must stop absorbing automatically and start analyzing actively. The most powerful thinkers don't believe something just because it's popular, emotional, or repeated.
They ask questions that most people avoid. Is this true? Who benefits from me believing this? Does this belief help my goals or limit them? What evidence do I actually have? Independent thinking doesn't mean being rebellious. It means thinking consciously before accepting an idea. Blind agreement is obedience, not intelligence. Let me ask you something. How many of your opinions are truly yours? How many beliefs did you choose consciously? How many fears were born from your own experience, and how many were inherited from others? One of the most dangerous habits of the mind is unexamined belief. Here's the truth most people never hear. Your brain will gladly stay borrowed if you never force it to think for itself. Thinking requires energy. Questioning requires discomfort. Creating your own perspective requires responsibility. And responsibility scares people. They would rather be guided than think. That's why independent thinkers are rare. And because they are rare, they rise. In business, they innovate instead of copy. In relationships, they choose instead of attach. In careers, they build instead of follow. In life, they lead instead of react. Independent thinking starts with one skill: slowing down your conclusions. When you hear an opinion, don't absorb it immediately. Pause. Examine it. Ask, is this aligned with my values? Does this idea make me better or weaker? Does this advice come from someone living a life I want? Never take advice from someone whose results you don't respect. Many people fail because they follow voices that are loud, not voices that are wise. Loud voices influence emotion. Wise voices influence direction. To think independently, you must observe without absorbing. If someone criticizes you, don't react. Ask yourself, is it feedback or projection? If someone sells you a dream, don't buy it instantly. Ask yourself, what do they gain from me believing this? If someone shares fear, don't adopt it. Ask yourself, is this based on their limits or reality? You stop being influenced when you start being intentional. Your brain becomes strong the moment you stop being afraid of thinking differently. The world pressures you to agree because disagreement requires identity. If you dare to question, you dare to exist. If you dare to think, you become unpredictable. And nothing is more powerful than a mind the world cannot program. Independent thinkers do not seek validation, they seek truth. They don't need permission, they need clarity. They don't chase trends, they chase principles. They don't ask, what do people think of me? They ask, what do I think of myself when I am alone with my thoughts? This is the true test of mental strength. You are not strong because others agree with you. You are strong because your thoughts are deeply yours. Before we continue, ask yourself honestly, are you building your mind or downloading someone else's? Are you thinking or repeating? Are you choosing or inheriting? Your brain becomes your greatest asset only when you own it.
Chapter 8. Emotional Alchemy: Turning Pain into Power. Your experiences shape your brain. This is true for knowledge, skill, and emotion. Painful experiences alter your emotional responses, your beliefs, your identity. But whether pain destroys or strengthens you depends on one thing: whether you react emotionally or reinterpret consciously. Emotional alchemy is the skill of turning pain into intelligence, not by rejecting the emotion, but by decoding it. Most people drown in their feelings because they try to shut them down. Suppressing pain doesn't remove it, it buries it alive. Buried emotions don't disappear. They harden into insecurity, fear, resentment, avoidance, jealousy, anxiety, and self-doubt. Pain that you escape becomes weakness. Pain that you examine becomes wisdom. Think of heartbreak. People blame others, blame themselves, or blame love. They don't extract the lesson. The lesson is not love is dangerous. The lesson might be, I ignored the red flags. I accepted too little. I betrayed myself to be chosen. Or I didn't communicate honestly. If you don't decode pain, you repeat it. Think of failure. Most people feel ashamed, so they avoid trying again. They think failure means I'm not capable. Failure doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you used the wrong strategy, the wrong timing, the wrong pace, or the wrong environment. Failure is feedback disguised as disappointment. Pain forces you to confront what comfort allows you to ignore. Let me ask you something. What has your pain been trying to teach you? What behavior has it been asking you to change? What truth have you been running from? Emotional alchemy starts with one question. What is this pain pointing at? Pain doesn't show up randomly. Pain appears where there is misalignment. It might show you a boundary you didn't set, a standard you betrayed, a value you violated, a habit you ignore, a truth you refuse to accept. Pain reveals the gap between how you live and who you could become. Once you stop fighting the emotion and start listening to it, the brain shifts. Your emotional circuits calm. Your rational circuits activate. You learn instead of react. You grow instead of repeat. You heal instead of escape. Emotions become intelligent when you allow them to finish their message. This doesn't mean you let emotions control you. It means you let them inform you. Anger shows where you feel disrespected. Jealousy shows where you abandon your own potential. Sadness shows what you miss or value. Anxiety shows where you need clarity or preparation. Loneliness shows where you are disconnected from yourself, not just from others. Every painful emotion has a direction. If you don't follow the direction, the pain stays. Strong people are not cold. They are aware. They don't avoid the emotional fire. They walk through it, extract the lesson, and come out transformed. They don't run from fear. They ask, what skill do I need? They don't run from heartbreak. They ask, what boundary do I need? They don't run from failure. They ask, what strategy needs upgrading? Emotional alchemy is not about being unaffected. It's about being instructed. Wealthy minds don't waste emotions. They convert them into clarity. Confident minds don't resist pain. They convert it into certainty. Peaceful minds don't avoid discomfort. They convert it into maturity. Your greatest wisdom will not come from comfort. It will come from decoded pain. So I ask you again, slowly this time, what pain in your life could become a lesson if you stopped feeling it and started understanding it? What message have you been refusing to hear? What have you been trying to escape that might actually be trying to elevate you? Your emotional pain is not a wall. It is a doorway. If you walk through it, you evolve. Chapter 9. Reprogram your identity before you reprogram your life. The brain protects who you think you are. If your identity says you're shy, your brain blocks confidence. If your identity says you're unlucky, your brain ignores opportunities. If your identity says you're not the type of person who succeeds, your brain will sabotage every step that goes beyond the life you believe is possible.
Identity is the boundary of your potential. If you don't expand the identity, you won't expand the life. Most people try to fix their results without fixing their self-image. They chase success while their inner story still labels them as average, insecure, unworthy, or incapable. The subconscious mind doesn't care about your goals. It follows your identity. A person who believes they are bad with communication will freeze even if they know exactly what to say. A person who believes they are bad with money will waste it even if they earn more. A person who believes relationships always end badly will unconsciously create situations that prove themselves right. The brain favors what is familiar, not what is good for you. Familiar identity feels safe even when it ruins your future. Let's take a real example. A man wants to become fit. He buys equipment, researches workouts, starts strong, but deep down he still identifies as someone who always quits. So as soon as the training becomes uncomfortable, his brain returns to his identity. He doesn't quit because it's hard. He quits because quitting matches who he believes he is. Your identity will pull you back to your past unless you consciously build a new one. Changing identity is not about affirmations or fake confidence. It's about proof. Identity grows through repeated evidence. If you want to be someone disciplined, don't say it. Act disciplined once today, then tomorrow, then again. Each repetition is a message to your brain saying, "This is who I am now." And slowly, your brain updates. Identity changes through consistent micro-actions, not fantasy declarations. Start with something small, but repeated. Speak once when you normally stay silent. Work 10 extra minutes. Save a small amount regularly. Practice one skill every day. Stretch your honesty. Communicate with precision. Respect your boundaries. These small actions are not habits, they are identity instructions. Your brain doesn't care about perfection, it cares about consistency. Who you repeatedly act like is who you become. Many people want a breakthrough without breaking the story they hide behind. They say, "Once I succeed, I'll feel confident." But confidence doesn't come after success. It's the identity that creates success. They wait for money to feel secure. But financial security doesn't come after wealth. It's the identity that creates wealth. They wait to be fearless to take action. But courage doesn't come before risk. Courage is stepping forward while fear is present. Identity is the cause. Results are the effect. So ask yourself slowly, who do I keep saying I am? Who do my actions prove I am? And who do I need to become to deserve the life I want? You don't earn your future with goals. You earn it with identity. If you think small inside, no amount of external change will last. Your brain will always return to its internal image of who you are. To change your reality, transform your identity first. You must decide who you're becoming and then act as that person before the world sees it. The world only respects the identity you've already proven to yourself. Conclusion: build the mind that builds your life. You've discovered something most people never understand. Your brain is programmable. It grows with discomfort, strengthens with consistency, focuses when trained, stays calm when disciplined, thinks independently when questioned, and transforms pain into intelligence when you decode it.
But none of that matters if you don't build an identity that matches the life you want, because your brain will always follow who you believe yourself to be. So here is your mission. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for life to change first. Choose who you'll become, then act like it every day. Improve your thoughts, train your reactions, build your focus, question what you inherit, decode your pain, and choose behaviors that show your brain who you are now. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to begin becoming the person your future requires. And from this moment on, let your actions build your identity. Let your identity build your success. And let your mind build a life that reflects your intelligence, not your fears.